best thing about being an actor in Atlanta is the amount of opportunity that is readily available. The accessibility too, as far as sitting in traffic compared to getting there in New York or LA might be a little bit easier in Atlanta. Does that make any sense? I just feel like it's like booking a coach because there's so many co-stars coming through. I don't know if there's as many guest star and recurring coming through the Southeast, but as far as co-star, it's definitely doable.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Hassiem Muhammad, and you are listening to The Actor's Instrument, Tools for the Long Game. Before we dive in, guys, you know the drill. Please give this episode a like. Make sure to follow us if you're streaming, or give us a subscribe if you're on YouTube. It helps out a ton. If you've been listening lately, you know that this month we are exploring regional markets outside of the traditional hubs of New York and Los Angeles. I want to know what opportunities these markets have across the film, TV, and theatrical mediums, what the cost of living is like, how realistic is it to work consistently, and ultimately, how to build a career as an actor living wherever you want to live. This week, we're headed to A-Town, the big A, Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me this week on The Actor's Instrument is Andrea Laing. Andrea is an actress, host, and model originally from High Point, North Carolina. She's known for her lead role in the Adult Swim holiday film Yule Log and the sequel Yule Log 2, Branching Out. She's also appeared in films and TV shows such as Pain Hustlers, True Lies, Atlanta, and NCIS New Orleans. Outside of acting, she's a screenwriter, a red carpet host for American Black Film Festival, and a stage performer with High Wire Comedy Company. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Before we talk really specifically about Atlanta, I'd love to just know something a little bit about you, as a storyteller, as a performer. And it's a question I ask every guest, which is, what is the defining quality that sets you apart from other actors, from other storytellers? Like, what do you bring to the table that makes Andrea Laing unique?
So what's interesting about that question is anytime I'm trying to help someone get through a hard time in the industry, I just remind them, and it's going to sound really corny, but there's no one youier than you. No one has the same, DNA as you, background as you, parents as you. Because there's so many forces already against us, I'm just going to be me. And I'm going to let it go. Because when I first started out, I used to strangle the possibilities of waiting to find something out. What I bring to the table is just myself. I have a unique background. I'm the youngest of three. I'm also a first generation. My upbringing is way different than anybody else's. So instead of pretending to be something that I'm not, I'm just like, this is it. And I hope it works. And it's worked for some people and some people it hasn't.
No, I love that. Well, and maybe the reason why it hasn't worked for some people is because, and I'm just, saying whatever, but I think there's a degree of knowing yourself. What I'm saying? In order to bring yourself to something, you really have to know yourself intimately, and not everybody does. So yeah, it's pretty amazing that you have that relationship with yourself, that's what you're able to bring to the work, because as you said, there's nobody youier than you.
Yeah, it sounds really disgusting, but it's true.
Okay, so before we dive into Atlanta, we'll go back to, you're from High Point, North Carolina.
Yes.
Which is actually really close to where I went to undergrad. I went to UNCSA.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty close. How long ago did you move from North Carolina?
Oh gosh, I moved not too long after graduating college. I have a degree in broadcast journalism and a double minor in criminal justice and sociology, which I've done absolutely nothing with. So it feels really, see, you're like, wow, that's really cool. And I'm like,
that sounds so impressive.
Yeah, I've done nothing with it. But I knew that I wanted to get into some sort of media industry. And at the time I was thinking LA, but I knew that CNN was in Atlanta. So I figured, that's close to home. So let's make that move.
Cool. You don't have to tell me how old. I'm not asking how old you are, but I'm just trying to gauge how many years have you been in the city?
I've been in Atlanta for at least 10 years.
Okay, cool. And how much of that time have you been pursuing career as an actor?
Oh gosh, at least 8 of those.
Okay. Broadcast journalism. So what made the switch?
I was a T3 intern. So CNN Intern Broadcasting has this like internship for kids, not kids, for people out of college starting out to figure out where they want to be. So I worked between both places, and my last job before I left was marketing and promotions at Turner Broadcasting. And it was really cool to have the feeling of that atmosphere. It wasn't necessarily for me, and I kept feeling it in my soul. I was like, this is not speaking to me. This doesn't feel good. These stuffy khaki pants are not my vibe. I don't like it. It's not. What am I like? I was typing away just like mindlessly, just staring out. I was going to say staring out the window. I don't even think there was one, which is worse. So I was going to networking events in Atlanta. And I met this girl there, and she was like, yeah, you should come check this out with me. I'm a PA. And I'm like, what is that? What is that? What does that mean? And she's like, well, you work long hours, no money. Everyone kind of treats you like shit. And I was like, oh my God, I want to check it out. I want to see what this is about.
Wow.
Um,
Be a Hollywood producer.
right. Right. And so I decided to take her up on it, and I joined her on set. The first show that I was a PA on was Tori and Dean. Um, they had a was it Tori and Dean? They had a reality show. And then I also worked on Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader with Jeff Foxworthy, if you remember that
Yeah.
back in the day. So I was a PA on so many Dancing with the Stars. I went to dance rehearsals with Aaron Andrews. Um, just so many different shows. And I loved it. It was so, so, so exciting. And I'm seeing all these people behind as I'm, behind the lens. And I'm like, why can't why can't I do that? Why shouldn't I? Why wouldn't I do that? And so that's literally how the switch happened. I just saw that they were having fun. I was having fun. I just wanted to do what they were doing. And yeah, just signed up with an agency, and everything else just kind of snowballed from there.
That's kind of crazy. Not because it's crazy because I've heard the story a lot, but the difference is most people that are telling me this story and it happened when they were like 10. It's the first time I've heard someone who's like, yeah, I went to school for a whole other thing, graduated,
Whole other thing.
moved to a whole city for this other thing, and I decided to do the way less secure thing and become an actor.
100%. And the plot thickens. So my parents are immigrants. So they came to America, the American story, wanting their kids to have better. And so I came from a background of like, you're you don't really take chances. You don't take calculated risks. So that's why when I tell you I had that feeling that was kind of resonating in my soul, like this doesn't feel good. This isn't me. I was competing against keeping a roof over my head because when I was working for CNN and TBS, I did have health insurance. So to leave that and not have that and make less money, and what are you doing? Like literally telling my immigrant parents, they'd be like, are you joining the circus? Plus all the student debt, it just seemed not practical whatsoever. So the adult me, you know, finally made that decision. I think that when I was a kid, you just I don't think that, first of all, I don't even know if my parents could afford that lifestyle, and they didn't know about it. Right. And so I think it took me finally kind of moving away and finding myself and honoring what it was happening inside of me and going after it for it to happen as an adult.
Okay, so you mentioned that when you first moved to Atlanta, so that was 10 years ago ish. They didn't have all the tax incentives. It wasn't the big booming Hollywood of the South yet. In your own experience, could you just paint a picture for us, like the difference between that moment where you first became a PA to now, just like the change in the industry over the last decade?
Oh my gosh. Well, I feel like there's three versions of that. When I first joined the industry, we're talking like there was going in person. There were headshots that you would use to the period of the pandemic to what's a headshot. You don't need that. You're not even meeting people in person to, oh, I'm auditioning over Zoom. How do I work this? The lighting, all this stuff to now where it's kind of like, should I go back to CNN right now? I'm just so it feels like full circle. No, but like right now, it's like opportunity is still out there for sure. It's just not as uh, readily available as it used to be, if that makes any sense. Opportunities are there. It's just a little bit more sparse. And not only that, the opportunities are now moving to different places around the world as well. Um, yeah, so it's hard to, man, it's definitely not 2022, you know?
You said 2022. So that means, do you feel like a big change in Atlanta was the strike? Because I was 23.
Yes.
Obviously, we had the pandemic and it just everything stopped. And then everything came back rough. I mean, not everything. We know not everything literally.
Mm.
But, you know, we did relatively well post pandemic and then the strike.
2022 was so crazy for me that I'll give you an example. Um, I was recurring on the game and I booked Pain Hustlers. And then I also booked True Lies. Between each of those, and I don't even know how the universe worked it out, I would literally leave set at like an overnight at 5 a.m. to be on set for the thing that I wasn't sure that I would leave on time to be on set for at 7. It was dangerous. It was like there were times I remember being in my trailer on the set for the game, and my agent had just like, she messaged me because they had made a straight offer on something in New Orleans. And we were thinking to ourselves, does she have enough time to even drive there, be there, and then come back and do the other stuff? This isn't to brag whatsoever. It's just to show you that 2022 was just like, it was crazy to now where it's different.
I know,
Yeah.
I understand. I think we're picking up what you're putting down. Um, Now, you mentioned you signed with an agency once you kind of made that decision to make the switch. Um, do you currently still have the same reps?
I do not. I'm 3 reps removed from that first one.
Oh, you moving through them, huh?
Well, I mean, it's been a few years. The first one I will mention, I loved them dearly. Jay Purvis was my first agency. Um, each of them has served me in their own way, and I'm very grateful for the relationships that we've had. But yeah, Jay Purvis was my first. Then I was with Alexander White Agency, and I'm now at Formation.
So you have representation. Obviously, you know, they've made a difference for you in your career. How important is it for actors in general to have representation in the Atlanta market?
Well, I could tell you this much: is the difference between going to a legitimate audition and finding something on Craigslist.
Oh, not Craigslist. Oh,
I brought it back. Craigslist is getting residuals now.
y'all going to auditions on Craigslist?
I would say this for someone starting out, I would say build up your credits, build up some sort of actor reel so you could present that to somebody. And then when you have enough legitimate work, or if or if you're in a show or a stage play and you want to invite a casting director, I know that they love stuff like that, or an agent, they love attending. So if you don't have the visual representation, like of just working on a short or whatever, then I say invite someone from like casting or an agent out. That's how I started out, at least with Jay Purvis. I was, needing to get experience and training. It's not enough just to have experience. I thought training also was very important at the time, and still always at the time. It's always a good measure to have training underneath your belt.
It sounds like having an agent in Atlanta is a good move. It would behoove you to have.
It would really behoove you to have legitimate people supporting you. But that's where I was going with it. It would really behoove you, I'll use your word, to have that credible support. Otherwise, there's different templates like Actors Access or Casting Network, or Backstage, I believe, that does provide opportunities. I just can't vouch for the legitimacy of it. But having an agent in Atlanta definitely has for sure helped. And in my position, I'm SAG, so that's the only way that I can really be, is with an agent.
It's similar like in New York as far as like film and TV opportunities are concerned, which I'm assuming that's where most of your work is in. And you got to have an agent.
Yeah.
If you want any kind of consistency, you got to have an agent.
You just have to. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, speaking about opportunities across the board, and I'm not sure if you have personal experience, but even maybe just from your observation, in terms of the major markets, so we have like film and TV, theater, commercial, voiceover. how is Atlanta for having access to those various opportunities?
I would say stage is very accessible. There's so many opportunities to, like you said, alliances here. Um, I worked with Highwire Village Theater, which is now Limelight Theater. There's just so many opportunities plentiful for stage work. TV and film as well. Voiceover, I believe that there is also that's specifically through my agency. I know that you can join voiceover departments, and then also audiobooks. I've recorded several, and so that's something that's also been accessible to me. I don't know how many audiobooks I would do in the future, just because it's a lot. But yeah, it's a lot. So you have two, yeah?
Yeah, I just recorded my fifth one like 2 weeks ago.
Were you exhausted afterwards?
Yeah, it's a lot because it's like it's just you. Like it's you are just reading this book out loud. What I love about it though is like I there's no audience.
Mm.
Like I've never felt freer to make interesting choices because there's like literally nobody watching me. Like I'm in a booth and this
Yeah.
it's just I feel like I'm acting in front of the mirror.
Right.
So in that way, I like it. It is in some ways some of the most exhausting work you'll do though.
It is
It's a lot.
hands down the most exhausting in the media arts film department or the media department for me, easily. The last one I did, Hassiem, I think that there were maybe 11, 12 characters. And you know what's not enough to read in your mind, at least for me. I have to go home and read out of my mouth.
My notes, I'm like, all right, and Melanie sounds like this, and so.
Right.
And the worst is whenever they're like all at a party together.
Oh my gosh. I was the lead's best friend, the lead's best friend's boyfriend, the judge, the bailiff, the grandpa, the grandmother, the grandmother's friend. Oof.
That's what's up. Go off. That's what's up. I mean, it's also
Yeah,
for people to hear that, like there's so many different ways to do it.
absolutely.
Okay, so Atlanta has many different opportunities. If I remember correctly, you were mentioning different theaters. I think if folks are talking like equity houses, there's only a couple. I can't name them, but there's only a couple. It's not like Chicago and DC have like a dozen plus like theaters. So I think that's maybe a difference that I personally have encountered. Um, but across the different mediums, and you're somebody who works across mediums, you said you do narration, you're on TV, you're hosting. Do you feel like theoretically someone would support themselves purely as an actor working in Atlanta?
I would say that before the pandemic and the two strikes, yes. Um, Things have changed. I know a couple of crew members that, they had to, take other jobs on. And ever since then, I don't think it's changed much. So before the what's recently happened, I would say yes, but it's been a little bit more difficult lately. But I know I have faith that we're gonna get get back to a place that feels a little bit more sustainable. Um, but yeah, it's I can't say that it's as great as it used to be, but I will offer this positive because I don't want to sound too negative. With the transition in this, it did allow me to pivot, and I think that that's a really cool thing because I don't know if I would have otherwise. And by pivot, I mean focusing on other things that I also love that's still in um, TV and film and underneath that blanket, which was writing. And so I wrote a pilot with my friend Liz, and that's been really something cool that we've been wanting to take on. So when you mentioned Seed and Spark, we had a meeting with our director yesterday about Seed and Spark about raising money for this. So that's one pivot that I had to transition into, aside from just waiting for the opportunity, because it did get to a point in time where like I was very comfortable waiting for the opportunity to come around, but it's also like I want to have something for myself. And I think that filming Atlanta also could be affordable as well.
Okay, well, you know what? And to be fair, I don't think your response sounded negative. I think it sounded honest and sincere, which I can't tell you how much I appreciate. Like every single interview on this show, I want us to get to that point where it's like, let's just be real for a sec, because everybody listening to this, we're in it. Like, there's no need for us to play pretend and like something is what it's not. Like that,
Yeah.
that's not helpful. So I appreciate just how honest you're being, and I love that you've found this other avenue for yourself within the industry in writing.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that, because if it were up to me, I'll be straight up fucking honest if you want. I'll be worse than that. I was just trying to like because I don't want to dampen anyone's whatever, but like yeah, it sucks. It's not the same at all. But I feel like there is a silver lining. This is what it is. It's not great. That's life though. Life sucks sometimes, and you have to find a way to pivot around it or find a way to make it better and work for you. And so yeah, writing has become the thing that I've also love at the same time.
I've got some rapid fire questions. Cost of living, how is it?
Doable. It works for Georgia 100% compared to other places. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like what? New York?
If you're like a median salary earner, I think in the United States, the average income is like 60 grand a year. Could you do Atlanta?
Yes.
Quality of life, like cleanliness. I guess affordability's kind of in there. Novelty, like how much is it like? I like living in this place.
Atlanta's nice. I feel like it's a very easy way to live.
Heard.
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of side hustles or secondary income streams have you had over the years?
I haven't.
Hey, let's talk your talk. Say that.
Okay. I just didn't I'm like, yeah, I just haven't.
Heard. So in your observation of other actors in your community, just getting a sense of what's available in Atlanta. Like, for example, in New York, it's like most actors that I know, it's funny. I'm about to list all this stuff that I don't do, but let's just, but most actors that I know genuinely, their side hustles are some version of like wait staff, or catering. Babysitting is a big one. I know some personal trainers, which that's something that I've done. I do. Those are kind of like where I find most people have their,
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. Before I'm in the position that I'm in right now, I was in the service industry forever. So that was something that I was doing while I was, with my first agency, J Purvis, and even with Alexander White Agency. So yeah, serving, bartending, personal training. I know a couple personal trainers. I know one guy that does karaoke nights.
Make it some on the side. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay, bet. What is the worst part about living in Atlanta? Or sorry, not living in Atlanta. Worst part about being an actor in Atlanta?
The comparison between Atlanta and LA and the pay scale discrepancy. The very obvious pay scale discrepancy. Same role, different pay.
I know I said rapid fire, but hold on 1 second. Wait.
Right.
So you and I'm assuming maybe other actors in Atlanta have noticed, is it bringing people into LA or getting paid more? Or is it if you were to go work in LA, you get paid more?
Personally, I've seen, and with other friends, I've seen where the same type of opportunity, maybe not listed as guest star. Sometimes they'll even leave it out, but you'll read the sides and it's like, this is understood to be true guest star, and it won't be. And you'll get the co-star pay scale. So you'll be given all this copy and get paid less. But that would be my answer, is that's I would say, number one thing between, maybe even throw in New York and LA, but mainly from LA.
No, to be honest, I've talked to some other folks in Atlanta, and I've heard something similar to this, where they like the Atlanta locals get shafted, especially on those like co-star and guest star type roles, compared to like oh, they'll fly somebody in from LA and they're like, but we're here, like, so heard. Okay, so that's the worst thing. What's the best thing?
The best thing about being an actor in Atlanta is the amount of opportunity that is readily available. Also, if you're starting out, because I would say if you're starting out in Atlanta compared to starting out in New York or starting out in LA, I feel like it could be a little bit harder and also I feel like the accessibility too, as far as sitting in traffic compared to getting there in New York or LA might be a little bit easier in Atlanta. Does that make any sense? I just feel like it's like booking a coach because there's so many co-stars coming through. I don't know if there's as many guest star and recurring coming through the Southeast, but as far as co-star, um it's definitely doable for sure. And then also physically getting there. Because I heard that some people, had to drive in traffic in LA just to get, to an audition, just to wait, just to sit back in traffic for like another. That sounds not okay.
Yeah. No, sounds terrible.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not in LA. But final question, which you kind of just answered, is if there's an actor right now who's in another city and they're like, man, I don't know if I picked the right spot, would you recommend Atlanta?
I 100% would, but I also wouldn't say come to Atlanta just because of work. Come to Atlanta because there's more that is offered outside of that. Anything that you're doing, especially in the entertainment industry, do not strangle it to death. Have an outside life. Have something else outside of it that you enjoy doing because as we both know, this industry will take you down. And if you don't have something outside of it and you're relying on this as your only thing, just don't. So if you are going to come to Atlanta, know that it might be a little bit more accessible, but also check it out. Do you vibe with it? Like, do you like what it has to offer? Are you near a body of water? Like, do you like hiking? Like any of that. So yeah, come to Atlanta, but make sure that it's a place that you want to live and explore outside of acting because yes, we are doing acting, but we're more than just actors. We need to have a fully lived life outside of this or it's going to be a long journey for sure.
What a beautiful response to that final question.
Thanks.
I'm so glad that I reached out to Michael for some recommendations, and I'm glad you responded and came onto the show. This was amazing. This is one of my favorite interviews I've done in a minute.
You know what? If I go back and I hear this on another one of them,
I will say I've been blessed with incredible guests, and all of my guests on this show have been truly wonderful. But this was, like I said, we got to that point where it was just like, this is real.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I made this show. And so I just really appreciate you like allowing us to get to that place.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me. I don't even know Michael that well. We have a lot of mutual friends, and I think that our mutual friend game is so strong that he's like, okay, you're someone that I would genuinely hang out with, and we haven't. And so when he recommended you, and I saw your platform, and I listened to the people you've interviewed, some really cool people, and I was like, yeah, I want to do this. This seems fun. So the feeling's mutual. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, folks, if you enjoyed this conversation with Andrea, then you'll love a recent interview I did with Jeff Parker on the Chicago market. So be sure to check that out. Thank you all so much for tapping into this episode of The Actor's Instrument. Before you go, make sure to like this episode and give us a subscribe. It helps out a ton. Major shout out to our co-producers and distributors over at Next Chapter Podcasts. We'll be back next Tuesday. Till next time, y'all. Peace.